Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Gods Woodsman here for you, and today will be a Gods Woodsman workshop. So how many of you would like to know how to take a Coke can and make a stove that you can boil water with? Stay with me. Now, how to make that stove. What you're going to need for this project is some kind of a Leatherman, some kind of a multi-tool, a pair of pliers, and a pair of cutters. A hanger, just a wire metal hanger. If you have like some large gauge wire, that would also work. A pair of scissors, a razor blade, a lighter, some small, it's about 18 to 22 gauge wire, something around that size, just a small wire. Maybe you might use something from like a picture frame, about that size wire. Some denatured alcohol, which is what is in here. It comes in a bigger container that looks something like this. It says denatured alcohol on it. I just tend to put it in a container like this. It's a little easier when you're backpacking. Some aluminum tape. This is what they use for HVAC when they're doing ducts. It works really well even when it gets hot. Makes a real nice windscreen for around the stove. Some kind of a C-clamp or quick clamp, something like that will make this a lot easier. You can do without it, but it makes it a lot faster if you do have one. And a couple cans of soda. Coke, Mountain Dew, A&W, whatever. And then also a piece of wood or some kind of a platform that is 7/8 of an inch thick. So here to here, 7/8 of an inch thick. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take this board and we are going to set it like this and then set the razor blade on top of it. So the edge of the razor blade is just barely sticking past the board. Just the slightest little bit past. And then take your clamp. We're going to clamp on the edge of the counter just so it's sticking past the edge of that piece of wood. The edge of that razor blade just barely sticking over the edge of the wood. You can just barely feel it there. The next thing you're going to do is take your can and put it on the edge of the counter, right where that razor blade's sticking out, and just start to rotate the can. And sometimes it actually is easier to go backwards so you don't actually have the cutting edge towards the razor blade. Or towards the can. You're actually going on the back side of the blade because you're just scoring it. And after you've done that to the first can, you know, you've gone around 5 or 6 times, at least, minimum, sometimes more than that. Just keep going around until you start breaking through. Also do it to the other can. So you need both cans to be scored all the way around. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your thumb and go right along that split and just slightly push in. And you'll find a place where there's already a hole and it'll start to go through. And if you just press where there's already a hole, the can will actually just start to cut right where you've scored it. Just be gentle. There we go. And there you go. You got the bottom of one of the cans. Now you've got 2 halves of your stove. It's going to go something like this when it's together. Now, we still need one more thing before we put them together. Coming up. Alright, now we have the top and the bottom of our stove, which are going to go together. Something like that. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to do a little bit of a test fit. So what we're going to do, bend this. It makes a little ears, little dog ears like that. So it just bends it in just a little bit, not too much, just enough so we can kind of get these things together. Something like that. And then we're going to take it and carefully, it's just a test fit, so we're not going to go all the way. Okay, now we got it together. I'm going to push it just a little bit closer together, and then I'm going to stop and pull it apart. You don't want to go too far, otherwise it's very difficult to get these apart. Next thing, that leftover part of the can. This is what, there's going to be an inner wall inside of this. It goes right around this part, and that's what we're going to use this for. And the easiest way to get that part that I've found is you take your pair of scissors and just stick them right into the can. And then you actually cut, and it doesn't have to be pretty. You just cut the top of the can off. Okay. And then we're going to make one cut right up the middle. Perfect. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this, our straight edge that we used earlier, and put the crinkly edge underneath, because we don't need that part. And then we're just going to measure. And it needs to be 1 inch and 1/8. Oop, smacking the camera around. It needs to be exactly 1 inch and 1/8 at both ends. So once you get it at 1 inch and 1/8, right there's about dead on. See there, 1 inch and 1/8. We're going to take our razor blade, hold this firmly, and just score from one end to the other. You don't have to press hard. Once, twice, 3. And after you do it 2 or 3 times, it'll break or tear pretty easily. There, it's already starting to go. See it right there? And you just very carefully separate it. This piece we don't need. This piece, what we're going to do is we're going to curl it up. Curl it up so it fits right inside of here. And it needs to fit tight inside of there. See how there's like a little bit of slop and a little bit of play inside there? We're going to want it to fit nice and tight, just like that. Not open like this. Want it to be nice and tight. So you kind of play with it a little bit. When you get it nice and tight, and you like the way it looks, just like that, you're going to hold it without letting it move. And then we're going to take our scissors again and make a couple right near the end of it. We're going to make a couple little bitty cuts, maybe about 1/4 inch apart. And then we're going to take those 2 little ears that I just cut and bend them inside, up like this. And believe it or not, that right there is our little channel that once you pour in the denatured alcohol, that is where it actually comes up and then comes up through the jets. And then we just need to do a test fit, just make sure it fits. It fits nice. There you go. And then now we're going to put the top on. We're just going to very carefully, same thing again, line it up. There we go. Starting to fit. Once you get to this point, set it on a flat surface, take the flat of your hand and just tap it down. And then you also might just take your hands, go like this, and make a, start praying. And just slowly squeeze it together. A little bit more. It's not quite there. And if you do it right, that's what it'll look like. I know, that is the smallest cup of soda, or can of soda I've ever seen, right? Now, and also, looks kind of weird, but you gotta know which side right side up is and which side's upside down. Well, thankfully we know which one, the A&W root beer, was our top. So this is the bottom, this is the top. So we're going to make sure it's good and solid. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a drill bit, and we're going to make 3 holes in here, one dead center, one up a little ways here, one here, and one here. And then we're also going to make a series of holes, smaller holes, all around the outside right here, about every 3/8 of an inch, all the way around. This is a 1/16 of an inch drill bit, and this is an 1/8 of an inch drill bit. The holes that go in the center are going to be 1/8 of an inch. The holes that go around the outside are 3/16. Now let's do that. Alright, here we go. This is the 1/8 inch bit, so we're only doing 3 holes. Just as it sits, the stove is done. The only thing else you need is after you put the fuel in, then you're going to put a penny right here in the middle. And that helps build up pressure inside that little wall we made inside there, and then all the flame actually shoots out of these little holes that we drilled. And the penny just helps build up the pressure. You have a little bit of fire in here, but mostly it's shooting up out of here. The only thing that this stove needs to light itself, it'll sort of burn, but not real good, is it needs heat. And the way to get it nice and warm, once you heat it up, it stays hot. And what you do to help it heat up is you're going to make a little pan that goes underneath this that will help just heat it up and get it warm. So when you're putting fuel in here, you purposely put just a little bit of fuel around the edge, so you kind of purposely overflow it just a tiny bit. So when you light it, it burns down around it a little bit too, and that quickly burns away, but it heats up the outside and keeps the can itself warm and the fuel warm and actually hot inside, and then it burns really, really good. So what we're going to do now is just build that little pan, make that little pan.